Are you co-branding your own business, which might be diluting your brand? I'm Kevin Davis from Detailer's Helper, and today let's talk about when to co-brand, when not to co-brand, and what that all means. Hey guys, so today I want to talk to you about a subject that's sort of part of branding. I'm planning on doing a larger, longer branding segment that I've done before, but today we're just going to talk about this thing in particular. We're talking about co-branding. Not in the way that I would typically think about it. We actually do co-branding with several different companies on our belt. So we'll take my logo and put it on the 16-ounce bag. We'll take another company's logo, put it on a 32-ounce bag. We can do some custom configurations and that sort of thing. That works really well in products because it allows each brand to sort of piggyback off the brand strength and brand loyalty of each other, which helps a lot. So what's happening though, let's talk about co-branding in terms of detailing and detailing companies, and at least the way that I'm seeing it. It's not technically co-branding, but it's some of the ways that I'm seeing it done. So marketing collateral is basically anything you use to interface with the general public. So your business cards, flyers, websites, brochures, whatever those things happen to be, your signage on your vehicle, your signage on your shop if you have one. That's all marketing collateral. And what I'm talking about in terms of co-branding in our industry is companies and individuals that are taking their logo, their individual information, and they're throwing other company logos and other brand information on top of their collateral, which let's talk about why I think that's a good idea, why I think that's a bad idea. It may not even be something you've thought about, and not everybody is going to agree with me, but let's talk first about why it might not be a good idea. A couple of different reasons. First of all, you're diluting the brand, right? Your own brand. Obviously, there are companies out there that have huge brands, huge strong brands, whether they're tool companies, coating companies, chemical companies, towel companies, whatever it happens to be. They have strong brand presence. And so at first you might think, well, if I put their brand presence on my collateral, then that's going to help me. But that's not necessarily true. What it does is it takes your brand and directly attaches you with another brand, which may or may not actually help your brand strength. And in most cases, I think it actually dilutes your brand strength because it's confusing to the consumer. So let's talk about another reason why I don't think it's a good idea. So let's say that you have aligned yourself with a particular chemical company, and we're not going to pick on anybody in particular, but let's say you align yourself with a particular chemical company, John's Unicorn Magical Soaps or whatever. So these unicorn soaps, basically, you love the product, you've been using it for a year. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to you. You can touch the vehicle and it magically recoats it, makes it look beautiful, whatever. We're doing stupid examples. But so you decide, hey, I love this unicorn soap. I'm going to take this unicorn logo and put it right in the middle of my business card. So you've got your logo, your information, and then a big unicorn logo on the corner. So you spend, I don't know, let's say $1,000 on your marketing collateral, which wouldn't be that hard depending on what you've spent on web design, what you've spent on graphics design, your business cards, especially some of the business cards I'm seeing, which are very expensive. Your flyers, brochures, all those things, your graphics on your vehicle, vinyl, whatever. So let's say you dropped $1,000 on that kind of stuff. That logo's on every single piece of marketing collateral. So 6 months down the road, we find out that John is using actual unicorns to make his products. Clearly, that's not going to happen, but for sake of example, and there's a huge public uproar, the company goes bankrupt, and you don't want to assimilate yourself you don't want to associate yourself with that company. So what do? You've now got $1,000 worth of brand collateral that is effectively worthless. You have to redo all of it. Anything that's out there already has your stuff, has their brands on it, and then you have now ended up aligning yourself with a company that you don't necessarily want to align yourself with in this case. Huge fantasy example, but there you go. Compound that if you've got 4 or 5 different companies, 6 different companies, I've seen 10 different companies laid out on somebody's collateral, and then that risk of something like that happen is really huge. So be careful who you align with. You never know in an industry what's going to happen with individual companies. You never know whether or not those companies are going to merge and change names or whatever. So that's sort of rule number one, or reason number one. Reason number two is basically you are going to confuse the customer. Okay, so your idea is you're dealing directly with the detailing public, or the public that is looking for detailing. And one thing to keep in mind is whether or not they actually even know these brands, first of all, and second of all, whether or not they give a crap about those brands. So if you put an obscure chemical company on your card that no one has ever heard of outside of our industry, which is pretty common. I mean, that would be common in carpet cleaning or house cleaning or carpentry or whatever. They're these smaller brands that aren't necessarily these huge consumer brands that also have a professional level presence. But there are tons of companies out there that we can align ourselves with that the general public have no idea about. So therefore, you're putting a logo on there that they, first of all, don't care and don't even understand why it's on there. And so there's your brand dilution. So they're looking at this card, this collateral, and they're saying, does this guy work for John's Unicorn Soaps, or is he, XYZ Detail or whatever? And so gets very confusing for the general public. That's sort of an extreme example, but what I'm saying is you're diluting your brand. When you have collateral, you want them to see your brand, recognize their brand, and remember that brand moving forward. So when they're telling their friends about doing detailing, when they're thinking about detailing later, they have nothing other than your brand in mind to do that. So that's sort of those two different reasons. Aligning yourself with companies that you don't know what's going to happen to them long term, and then B, just confusing the company, the general public about the company, who you are, what your brand is. So let's talk about a couple of reasons why you might want to do this. First of all, you may be required to do this if you're an authorized or certified provider of certain chemicals or tools or whatever that happens to be. So they may say, hey, on your marketing collateral, we'll give you X discount, let you be a reseller, whatever. So there may be a financial reason to do that. Think NASCAR. So NASCAR obviously has crap all over their cars, their jackets, they switch hats, all that kind of stuff. They get paid for every single one of those. So there's a financial incentive to do that. Just like with us, where there's a financial incentive for us to co-brand with companies on our products. So there may be a financial incentive or some sort of, not necessarily a requirement, but a suggestion by some of those programs, some of those other companies to sort of co-brand on your own. So that may be one reason to do it. Another reason might be you might actually find that there are some brands that do such a good job educating the public directly for the professional industry that it might actually be good for your brand to align yourself with them. There are a bunch of different companies out there that do this really well. What they do is they create demand in the general public to seek out specific products or specific types of products from professionals. So if that goes back into the sort of being certified or authorized installer or all that kind of stuff, but the public will actually seek out a specific type of brand in order to determine whether or not they're going to do business with a detailing company. So those are sort of the two reasons that I think that you should do that. I had already finished editing this and I just thought of something else I wanted to add. I would like nothing more than to see my logo here, this really cool vintage logo, on all your stuff. But I'm going to say the same thing for me. You guys don't know what's going to happen with my brand. I assume that we're going to be around for a long time. We're going to be doing some good stuff, but you never know. Maybe I get hit by a truck and my weird teenagers decide to turn this into something I never intended. So therefore, you don't want to align yourself with Detailer's Helper. I love it. Same thing with that. I love it if you have, collateral. You get a t-shirt, you get a hat, you get a banner in your shop, all that kind of stuff. That stuff is easy to deal with if something happens. If you're aligned with that brand and something happens. Pull the banner down, throw the shirt away, throw the hat away, whatever. I'm talking about your marketing collateral specifically. Taking your marketing collateral and co-branding it is just an expensive proposition. And once it's out there, you can't get that stuff back. To recap here, like I said, trying to keep this as short as possible, but I don't think that if you're doing your collateral that you should be putting most companies, I don't think you should be putting their logos, their branding on your collateral. I just don't think it's a great idea. I think there's too many risks. But if there's a reason to do that, then you should go ahead and think about doing that. Just make sure that you understand the implications. If for some reason you have a falling out with the local distributor, if that company doesn't work out, there's still a big risk for doing that, and you could lose a ton of money in the long run for doing that. The number one thing that I would like you guys to consider is whether or not the customer understands it, if it confuses them or doesn't confuse them, if they even know what the hell you're doing, and two, whether or not they give a crap about it. If they don't care about it, and all you're doing is confusing them, all you're doing is diluting your overall brand message, definitely don't do it. So I'm Kevin Davis from Detailers Helper, doing what I do so you can do what you do better. I hope that helps. Hey, if you haven't checked out some of our new products from Detailers Helper, I would encourage you to do that. We've got some new interior bags, some coating bottle bags. I've got 3 or 4 different bags that I'm prototyping right now. We're getting ready to launch a new lower level, lower configuration belt that we're putting out there for the production guys so that you can sort of come in at a lower cost. That's that good, better, best pricing strategy that we're doing. And so I'd encourage you to check those things out. If you're looking for anything for for your spouse, for your kids, I have a couple of different new consumer brands that I'm launching. And we're also pushing some new products into the janitorial sanitation industry as well. So big things. So check out my website, www.detailershelper.com. And let me know what you think. If you have any product ideas or ways that we can improve, I would always appreciate hearing about that. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. And I would appreciate if you would do so. So I'm Kevin Davis again from Detailers Helper, doing what I can so you can do what you do better. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.